17 minutes after 5 o'clock. Back in December, we talked with Don Kinzler, who is the Cass County Horticulturist, and the subject of when we're going to be able to plant things. Getting ready for spring came up. We must have been enthusiastic about our warm weather. Don joins us again. Can we talk about that subject right now, Don Kinzler?
Well, good afternoon, and yes, we can. We're all getting anxious for spring, and I really enjoy starting some things in our basement under lights. When I say things, plants, tomato plants and flowering plants. And so a person can save a little money, but like what I always say, starting your own plants isn't just about getting plants on the cheap, but instead I can use some of the money I save to go out to local garden centers and maybe buy a new plum tree that I want to experiment. But anyway, so it is really, it's great to start plants ourselves. For example, our basement is not finished, so we've got a good spot to start them under lights in the basement. One of the key points, though, is not to start too early. Okay, we can get our seeds ordered, get our seeds bought, but if a person starts too early, those plants get too large, too lanky. They start to languish indoors. And so, a person might think, well, maybe if I start really early, I'll just have bigger plants. But that's not really the case. They start to go downhill if started too early. So there are a couple of kind of key dates for when to start plants indoors, under lights. Mm-hmm. And one of those key dates is coming up March 1st. So March 1st is when the person would start petunias and some of these small seeded flowers. Okay. Then the next date to remember is March 15th, middle of March. That's when peppers and cabbage and cauliflower, broccoli would be started, March 15th. Then easy to remember date after that is April 1st. And that is the key date for starting tomatoes. Tomatoes are probably the number one most popular plant to start indoors. Maybe there's a special variety that you like that the garden centers don't have. They can't handle every variety. So April 1st is when tomatoes come up fast, and so that's why we don't want to start them too early. So April 1st, key date there. And May 1st is actually when you would start cucumber plants, squash plants, pumpkin plants, because they grow really, really fast. So we don't start those too early indoors. So anyway, that's the key. One key is to start them at the certain proper time. Another key is heat. Seeds, when you start them in the little seed trays with seeding mix, they love heat. So heat pads, we use germination heat pads. Garden centers sell those pads especially for this, and that really increases the germination rate. Wow,
that's exciting. I've got a personal question to ask you about.
Sure.
I don't mean to spring it on you, but I kept a geranium in the house over the winter. I did everything I know to do, and that is don't do much with them. I kept them watered and such. So what do I do now?
All right. If it started to get a little bit leggy, about March 1st, cut it back. And when I say cut it back, to only about 2 to 3 inches above the soil line, because it will start to branch out good, even if there are no, and trust me, this works. I do it with ours all the time. We got about 100 in the basement growing under lights. So March 1st, cut them way back and give them some fertilizer, water-soluble fertilizer. And that will, they'll start to sprout out. And by May, you'll have a beautiful geranium that's well-branched, husky, with fresh new leaves.
You got a deal. Thank you, Don Kinzler, for joining us today. And I can't wait to do it again, maybe around, sometime after we've started our petunias already, okay?
That'll be perfect. Have a good evening, everyone.
Don Kinzler, Cass County Horticulturist here on KFGO.